All of these jargony phrases are held by a belief in what is called spiritual warfare, which is again more of kind of an evangelical movement, but I don't want us to feel like we're better than that. These are issues that we have to explore too. So to vastly oversimplify for time's sake, what spiritual warfare means is that there's a belief that the powers of light, or God, and the powers of darkness, or Satan, the tempter, the enemy, that these powers are locked in an age-old war over the souls of all people and the fate of our world. And if this makes you feel a little icky inside, you are not alone. And if either that hymn or that verse made you feel a little icky inside, that was more kind of what I wanted, actually. The vast majority of my progressive theologian friends are not comfortable with these metaphors, mostly because they make God feel violent. And we know that no prayer warrior is actually running out into the street with a sword, but it still feels really uncomfortable to conflate what many of us consider a peaceful faith with this war-mongering. But here we are, Book of Ephesians, it's happening right there. We have to talk about it. Faith as shield, spirit as sword, righteousness as breastplate. This is something we can't avoid. So what do we do with this? I'm going to tell you now, I won't be looking to contextualize my way out of it. The writer of the letter is clearly speaking in metaphor, and so are we, so I won't try to claim any difference in their metaphor and ours. The question isn't even whether metaphor is dangerous or not. The question is, how far does metaphor go? We know the writer here does not need to tell the church of Ephesus to literally put on a bunch of armor. That would look ridiculous, and it wouldn't really help them anyway. We also know that Christians who view the world in these terms don't literally mean that we're going to war with demons, because I don't think modern weaponry works on demons. I haven't tried it. I don't think so. Finally, we know that the writer here didn't literally mean that Satan is firing flaming arrows at Christians, because I think we would have noticed. But suppose we pushed it one level further. We know these things are metaphors. Are the demons literal, metaphor? Are they symbolic of the hardships we face in life? If they're metaphors, are the angels? Is the hedge of protection, whatever it is? Are God and Satan literally battling on another plane, as this writer says? Or is it more of a long chess game over each of our souls? Or is all of this just a metaphor for our own choices between good and evil? We know the armor isn't real, but is it real? Of course, I have opinions on this, but I don't know more than anyone, and I won't claim to have authority. What I will do is ask what it means when we believe one way or another. Does seeing our journey of faith as a war zone make us a violent people? If not, does it make us more comfortable with the violence of others? With the violence of our military? With the violence of our police? Do we begin to see state violence as redeemable in the same way as God's supposed righteous violence? Does belief in spiritual war have benefit? Does it make us feel protected? Does it make us feel brave? Does it remind us of a duty to one another as Christians to see our siblings as comrades in battle? And am I going to stop asking questions at some point? Well, I am a preacher, so instead of answering any of those, I'm going to tell you a story. My roommate, Amanda, is currently down south visiting with her conservative Southern Baptist family. My roommate is also a witch. Not green skin, flying on a broomstick, I'll get you my pretty, but she does perform rituals. She believes in the power of witchcraft, and this is her spiritual practice, and I respect it. And I bring that up because she told me this week that her brothers have recently told her she is not allowed to touch their children. I don't know the specific rationale, but I can guess that they've decided her beliefs have placed her in the army of the enemy, and they can't risk having their children tainted by this. If she touches them, they might catch it somehow. We've heard that before, right? So I don't know why they think this is a terrible thing that could happen, but I know that there's some kind of fear on their part because their sister is now in this other army that they believe in. And I can see this real hurt and the wedge that's being driven in her family. And I know that it's the same kind of spiritual warfare that we're talking about. So I know that there's real dangerous harm in these patterns of belief. And while I'm unsure of the existence of anything, I can see the real tangible harm that is done to this world, and personally, that makes me want to write all of it off entirely. But here's the thing. If I decide those things aren't real, then what goes with them? Angels? It seems kind of unfair to believe in angels without demons. Satan? I could do without either of those things, but resurrection, not just literal Jesus resurrection, our resurrection as a people. How about the coming of a new creation into the world, God's reign on earth? It would be disingenuous of me to dismiss only the supernatural features of this paradigm that I personally dislike. And I need to believe in some of these things. I don't need literal demons or angels or Satan. But I know that there are really hard days when I get home and I have to trust that God is doing work in the world that I can't. Real, literal, physical work, not metaphor. I look around and I see a world of injustice, poverty, bigotry, and I need to believe that these will be undone one day. And I no longer believe that humanity can do this on our own. So is it possible for me to pray for victory here while denying the war? Do I have any right to believe in the triumph of a literal God while dismissing the evil as symbolism? It seems cheap, and maybe it is true that all the tangible evils I see, the people living on the street, the young men killed in broad daylight, the people even today trapped in bondage and slavery. Maybe I have to recognize that there is an evil beyond my understanding, just as there's a good beyond my understanding. So in the end, is this real? Is there a war, and is that the best way to look at the world even without its drawbacks? What I do know about demons, real or imaginary, literal or metaphorical, is that they're manipulative. They don't need for us to believe in them, and they can take advantage even when we think that we are directly fighting them. And this can apply to whatever real demons might exist or the demons of humanity's inner being. So maybe it's possible that this fear we have is a metaphor for a fear of something tangible. Maybe when we express fear of Satan's work in the world, we are saying that we fear death, sickness, poverty, and the cruelties of our fellow people. Or maybe it's true, and in such a case, these demons know how to manipulate our fear, cause our love of good to become twisted and evil in itself. My movie's brothers, for instance, are acting out of the love of a parent, trying to protect their child, but that has become something hateful from them. Because whatever the case, demons, real or metaphorical, play on our better natures. They bring evil out of our good intentions. I'm told that they can pave a road out of these, but I don't think you'd want to go down it. So, am I just spinning my wheels here? Well, I'm still a preacher, so instead of answering, I'm going to tell you two stories. The first is not mine, but an old piece of folklore as staged in this instance by British playwright Christopher Marlowe. That's the story of Dr. Faustus, one of my favorites. You've definitely seen some version of this story. It gets retold all the time, but long story short, boy meets demon, boy sells his soul to demon, boy has lots of fun with demonic powers, boy dies and is damned to hell for all eternity. Cliff notes. The important part, though, is that when you look at the way Marlowe stages this, Faust signs a contract with the devil very early on. But right up until the dying moments throughout the entire play, angels are appearing on Marlowe's shoulder. That's where that comes from, actually. They're appearing throughout, begging Faust to repent, telling him that it's not too late and the powers of God are greater than laws, contracts, or devils. The demons maintain their stranglehold on Faust only by convincing him that hope is lost and playing upon his fear of his own damnation. Throughout, Faust has the choice to turn to ways of love and goodness in the world, and the only thing keeping him from it is the lie that everything is already a doom. He effectively damns himself by believing that he's beyond hope. Similarly, I think that our fears of the powers of hell often ironically manipulate us in the same way to spread the rule of dark in the world. When we are afraid for ourselves, afraid for our souls, afraid for our loved ones, we take drastic and unloving measure in order to make ourselves feel safer and assure ourselves that we are on the right side of things. We cut ties with family members. We write off people who are different from us. We hold on to this false idea of holiness so hard that our hands can no longer hold on to the love of God that should be the thing that keeps us here. And all we have to do to avoid that is trust in grace and love, believing that we are already treasured and provided for as the lily of the field or the sparrow. All we must do to be safe from the powers of darkness is stop fearing them and trust that we are already taken care of, and that God's grace and love have already saved us from the powers of hell, and nothing can threaten us. Which brings me to this other story. A few years ago, a friend of mine asked me what I thought about this exact topic, and I told her many of the things that I just said to you. That was the end of the conversation for some time until a little while later, she got in touch with me to tell me why she had asked in the first place. As it turns out, her boyfriend was at the time very sick, and in an attempt to help him, one of his friends had taken him through a ritual that was meant to assign him a demon familiar. My friend, a new convert to Christianity, was understandably upset about this and worried what it might mean to have a demon in a relationship. This is a prime example of the things that your seminary professors do not tell you about in advance. But I'm just going to read for you what I wrote to her at that time. First of all, let me say that I don't think you're mentally ill. And I think it's a little ridiculous for someone to say you're crazy because you believe in God as they are coming back from a demon summoning session. But I would be careful. This is a touchy area of theology, and it can be really easy to get carried away with warfare on a spiritual plane and forget about our responsibilities to God and each other in the material world. I've seen a lot of people get carried away with fear of demons and let their fear and anxiety lead them to take negative actions and push people away, which is playing right into the hands of the demons they fear, because that's what demons are good at. They take advantage of our better natures and corrupt them. Whoever this person is, he believes that he was helping your boyfriend, and that's how demons got in the first place, because that's what they do. They find vulnerable chinks in our armor, and they take advantage of those to insert themselves into our lives. But, I cannot stress this enough, they have only the power that we give them. Free will means that we are free to turn from God, but also means that the forces of evil cannot control our actions or turn us away from God themselves. They can only manipulate us by playing on our fear and anger. So above all, don't let them. Remember first that you and your partner are children of God, and trust that the hand of God is upon you and stronger than any darkness. Remember to rely on that trust, and remember too that God is love. And so the best thing you can do to resist any dark influence is continue to live in that love and grace, and not let fear control you and manipulate you into hurting others. In any case, I think the best thing you can do right now is to stay calm. If you let this fear get to you, you are opening another door. Rather, remember God will protect you and continue to dwell in grace, love, joy, peace, and all the fruits of the Spirit that will repel demons and darkness and protect you against these far better than anything else. So here's the point. I could have just done this one paragraph instead of a 15-page sermon, but time issues, you know. We can dispute all night about real dark power or metaphor, whether demons are symbols or real, but in the end, they are fought in the exact same way. Remember in Ephesians, the armor we put on is peace, evangelism, truth, the Spirit. We arm ourselves with beautiful qualities in ourselves given by God, and that keeps us safe, whether demons be literal or not. So this is a both and. As the writer of Ephesians says, we must put on armor of God and prepare for battle, even though it feels icky just saying that. But we cannot neglect to remember that this armor, in the end, is not violent, because you don't fight a spiritual war with literal weapons. We must remember that the armor of God chiefly comes from love. And if we approach the world ready to fight but forget that love, it's just as foolish and harmful as running into battle in the nude.